Hello everyone, this is Satish Kumar. I am here with another lesson for Indian economy. So, a very important topic. This is my second lesson on this topic. Previously, I have given a topic lesson on banking, where we learnt about the evolution of banking in India. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the banking structure in India. Okay. So, if you could see this diagram, this is the banking structure in India, where at the apex level there is Reserve Bank of India, and there are broadly two types of banks: scheduled banks and unscheduled banks. So the scheduled banks are the banks that are listed in the second schedule of the RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So unscheduled bank are not listed. The scheduled bank are further divided into commercial banks, and the commercial banks are also further divided into public sector bank, regional rural banks, and private sector banks. So the private sector there are Indian players and foreign players. In the public sector there is the two groups: state bank and nationalized bank. We will discuss all this in detail. And there is also another type of scheduled bank called cooperative banks, where there will be state cooperative banks, primary credit societies, like that. Okay. So the unscheduled bank are very less in India, very few banks in India. We will also learn about it. And there is also some other structure. This is a basic structure of the banking structure. There are also, in recent times, there are payment banks and small finance bank, and there are also some specialized institutions banking to certain needs, right? So there are some. We will also discuss all those things in detail. We will discuss everything in detail. Okay, and we'll see it now. First, we'll start with the scheduled bank. As I said earlier, the RBI briefly classifies scheduled bank and non-scheduled bank. The scheduled bank is a bank that is listed in the second schedule of the RBI Act. So the RBI Act 1934. See, we are going to see the RBI and its functions in the next class. Okay. Today in this lesson we will only learn about the banking structure. Okay. So in the RBI there is a act. RBI was created by an act of 1934, and in that act there are some schedule which we will all see in the next class. In that schedule, the second schedule are the banks are listed. So these banks are the scheduled banks are listed here. Okay, they should have a paid up capital of 25 lakhs with RBI. That is one condition, and this is a very small amount for a bank. As a result, that is why most of the banks are scheduled banks. Okay, and the benefit of this is, these banks, since they are listed in the schedule of the RBI, they could rely on RBI during difficult times, like getting loan, right? And they also, since they are listed in the scheduled bank, they also meet certain obligations or the guidelines that is proposed by RBI, like they have to maintain cash ratio, SLR, public sector lending. They have to follow all the rules of the RBI. Okay, so RBI will follow some prudential rules, so that the bank does not default the customers. So they have to meet all those things. Okay, um, and they also have to submit the details of the activities every week to the RBI. Okay, also because they are a scheduled bank, they can become a member of the clearing house. So what is clearing house? See, there are, I'll give a small example. There are two banks, right? There are many banks, no. Suppose if there is a Dana Bank, this Dana Bank is issuing a check. Okay, and there is a person who has an account in the Dana Bank, and that person issue a check to the another person. A X person is issuing a check to Y person. The X person has his bank account in Dana Bank, and the Y person has his account in Punjab National Bank. Okay. See, if both these banks are having clearing house, no, that is, if they both these banks are scheduled bank, no, they will have clearing house, that is in the RBI. Okay. So see, if um, the the giver, the money creditor is giving to a debtor, no, the X person is giving money to Y by check from Dana Bank to Punjab National Bank. The X person, when he gave his check, no, the Y will do, he will go and deposit in his bank, that is Punjab National Bank. So what happens is, the Dana Bank has to pay the money to the Punjab National Bank, so that you could avail the money, the Y will avail the money. But since the clearing house is there, what RBI will do, what the Dana Bank will do is, they will deposit the bank check in the the Punjab National Bank will deposit the check in the RBI, and RBI will deduct amount in the Dana Bank and credit that amount in the Punjab National Bank. As a result, we will avail that. Okay. Seeing this, the Dana Bank will credit that amount in the account of that person, X person, and sorry, and the other person will debit the account in his account. So this is how the clearing house function work. Okay. So scheduled banks avail these facilities from RBI. In fact, RBI has act as a clearing house for all these banks. In fact, RBI has like 14 clearing houses all over India. Okay. So the banks no need to go to the other bank to collect the money. They just have to drop it to the RBI, and RBI will do the clearing work to them. Okay, in simple. Okay, and scheduled banks are also further classified into commercial banks and cooperative banks. So the commercial bank, as the name implies, they are run with the profit motive. The cooperative banks are for developmental purposes. That is the difference. Okay. Um, so these are all the scheduled banks, about scheduled banks. So what is non-scheduled bank? The opposite of scheduled bank. They are not registered with the they are not listed in the second schedule of the RBI Act. In fact, there are very few. In fact, there are 4 banks only, non-scheduled bank. We will discuss all that also later. And since they are not part of the RBI, no, they don't need to maintain cash reserve ratio with the RBI. Although they maintain cash reserve ratio, they don't need to keep it in the RBI. Okay, we will see what is cash reserve ratio and why banks keep this cash reserve ratio with the RBI, and all this when we learn about the RBI functions. Okay, so these banks are do not have that obligation, that the cash reservation, cash, they have to hold some cash as reserve in RBI. They could hold it in them with themselves. Okay. And they are also not obligated to follow strictly the rules of RBI. Although they follow the rules, they are not strictly monitored by RBI. Okay. And they also do not get the facility of clearing house. Okay. Of RBI. Also, they cannot avail the loans of RBI. In fact, banks, no, they could get even day-to-day activities, can go and borrow with the RBI. But non-scheduled banks, no, they could also avail loans from RBI, but they could go only in emergency conditions or very rarely. They could not go and knock the door of RBI regularly. But banks has that facility. That is also a different. So please remember these differences between non-scheduled banks and scheduled banks. Okay. These kind of questions will be asked. So the scheduled commercial banks, what are the scheduled commercial bank? I said no, the scheduled commercial bank are further divided into different banks. So they are, in fact, these scheduled banks are organized under the Banking Companies Act of 1956. Okay. There are scheduled banks are further divided into public sector banks. At present in India, we have 12 public sector banks Previously we had 27. Recently those are all consolidated and amalgamated, and as a result at present we only have 12 public sector banks. Okay, SBI and 11 other banks. Okay. Previously SBI itself had SBI and SBI associate bank, that itself had some 7-8 banks, but all these are merged into one single SBI. And national bank also, there were 19 national banks, 20 national banks actually nationalized bank. If you have learnt my historical evolution of my previous class, no, you know that during 1969 14 banks were nationalized, and in the 1926 banks were nationalized, but all these banks were amalgamated, consolidated and amalgamated for better performance. As a result at present we only have 12 banks, SBI and 11 other banks. So 10 banks were recently amalgamated into 4 banks. As a result the number reduced. Okay, so this is see, I have put in here as 27. See, this slide I made in 2017, so at that time it was 27, but recent always I will also request you, when you are learning my lesson on economy, uh, with the current data you fill those things. Don't rely on my data, although I will make sure that I update, but there will be some data which will be a little older. Okay, because economy is a very current affair happening each and every day. So datas, you, even if you write down these, kindly change as and when you find in the current affairs differently. Okay. Okay, then there is private banks. At present there are 22 private banks. Okay, then there is foreign banks. This number is also not the correct picture. I'll give you a detail about it. And there is a regional rural bank. There are some 40 plus regional rural banks. Okay, in fact at one point of time there were like 196 regional rural banks, but now it has come down. There are also a lot of amalgamation done, so it has come down to just 43. Then there is cooperative bank. Cooperative banks are both in urban and rural areas. Okay, we will see all this in detail. I'm not only giving these points, we will see all this in detail today. First we'll see the public sector banks. Okay, so basically what does the public sector banks mean? That is the majority stake, that is more than 50% of the ownership of the bank is held by the government. That is what public sector is meant. Okay, and the shares of these banks are listed in stock exchange. Please remember this kind of point. For the prelim point of view, this kind of every point is very important. Okay, and as I said, no, with recent amalgamation in April of 2000 last year, at present we have only 12 public sector bank. Okay, even though there are only 12 public sector bank, the public sector bank, they are having plenty of branches all over India. The public sector bank, they hold only they hold 75% of the total deposit in India, so they play a very major role. Okay, there is also additionally uh, uh, the payments, one payment bank which is also part of public sector bank, which I'll tell later. Okay, at present you remember only 12 public sector bank. Payment bank is not part of the scheduled bank category. It is a payment bank, is something different. I'll tell you what is payment bank. Today we will discuss all those things also. Okay, so these are the 12 public sector bank. Please kindly go through this. State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, Central Bank of India, Canara Bank, Union Bank of India, Indian Overseas Bank, Punjab and Sindh Bank, Indian Bank, UCO Bank, and Bank of Maharashtra. So some banks are actually merged, and we at present only have this kind of bank. The bank that I said no recently, Jana Bank and other bank, those banks are merged. Okay. So SBI. So in the previous class when we are learning about historical evolution of banking in India, I said the SBI, which is the British founded bank in the 1900s, 1800s, which were considered as the imperial bank during British time, and when it was nationalized in 1955 and 1959, those banks that came to be known as State Bank of India. Okay, at that time when it was nationalized in 1955, the 92% of the share only bought by RBI, okay, on behalf of government. Okay, um, so at that time it had 92% share of SBI, but in 1993, no, the SBI was allowed to access fund from capital market to sell its share up to 33%. Okay, the government allowed it to sell its shares to others. Okay, but still it will maintain some 67%. As a result, it will be a public sector bank. Okay, that was done by the SBI Act 1993, and in 2007 July, um, the entire equity stake of RBI was taken over by Government of India. Okay, so previously RBI purchased the share, no, in the 1955. In 2007, government purchased from RBI, so government is the owner at present. Okay, previously RBI held on behalf of government. So RBI is no more holding bank of SBI. Also, in 2007, the government further announced that they are going to sell the uh, uh, up to 53% of mm, the government has decided that they will hold only 53%. The 47% they are decided to sell. Initially it was 33, no, later they decided it to even further, uh, that is 47% to equity share. But at present government hold around 56-57%, I think. Okay, so they could sell even further for 3%, but they won't go any more, because uh, they have to hold more than 50% if it is to be a public sector bank. Okay, then there is nationalized bank, although this term is actually not a correct term. See, what nationalized bank means, the entire share of the bank should be, the entire asset of the, or the share of the bank should be held by government, only then it could be called as nationalized bank. But in India, none of these public sector bank entire share is owned by India. We have already seen SBI, we have just hold only 56% like that. Even in the nationalized bank, we never bought entire amount, we bought only 92%. Even at that time we simply called it as nationalized bank because of that. Okay, um, and in 1994 the government allowed to access through the national bank the capital market, and they are also given 33% of shares through capital market they could gain. Okay, and since then nationalized bank also tap fund from the capital market, and as a result we can now never call any bank as nationalized bank. All could be called only as a public sector bank, but still government is keeping this classification which was old. Okay, now we'll see the scheduled commercial banks. Okay, that is private banks. Okay, previously we saw the public sector banks, now we'll see the scheduled commercial bank in private sector. So there are two type of private sector banks in India. One is old private sector banks, that is banks that were operating before 1991. Okay, then banks that are started after 1991. Okay, previously there were 13 such banks in India. So we know private bank operate only for profit motive. Okay, so there were 13 old private sector banks previously, and there were 9 new banks started after 1993, when the banking uh, the committee for financial system know that Narasimhan committee which proposed that there should be more private player in the banking sector. As a result, government issued license for new private banks, and now we have 9 new private banks. The first bank that came after 1991 was UTI Bank. Previously it was named, now it is called Axis Bank. Okay, so this you could see all these banks name. Please try to just look at that, which are all the bank that was the new private sector bank, and which are all the new old private sector bank, just to have a picture. You can't memorize all these things. Just look for once. Okay. You could at least remember these 9 new private sector banks. Hmm. Then, as I said earlier, the private sector bank, there is also foreign banks. Okay. So foreign banks in India can come with through two ways. Okay. One, they could open a branch in India, that is a physical branch in India. Okay. A foreign bank could open a physical branch in India. Like that, there are 45 foreign banks have opened in some 286 branches in India. Okay. Then a foreign bank could also open a representative office in India. Rather than having a full branch, they will only have a office. Okay. Like that, there are some 40 foreign banks operating offices in India. Okay. um, See, the foreign banks, they account very little, that is 1% of the total branch of in India. Their branches in India is very less. Okay. So India could proudly say that we have such a strong, that 99% of the Indian banking is India's bank. We could be proud about it. Okay. But the foreign banks account for 7% of the banking asset, even though they are only 1% branch, total branch network. They account for 7% of the banking sector asset, and they also get some 11% of the banking sector, banking business, the banking industry business profit. Okay. So for 1%, that is huge. Okay. So they are more competitive than, or they are more like that, we could say, than Indian banks. Okay. So most of the foreign banks in India are niche players. What do I mean by niche players? They cater services to a particular group. We have seen in the previous class, that the banks are divided into universal bank and differentiated banks. So these are all mostly differentiated bank. They cater needs to, they usually do business to trade finance, um, private wealth management, wholesale lending, investment banking, treasury services, and like that. Okay. So mostly differentiated banks. There are some guidelines to the foreign banks that they should follow in India, by given by RBI. Okay. And basically, two principles are very important for these banks, that for the foreign banks, that is reciprocity and single mode of presence. What is reciprocity? See, the bank will given the same treatment as Indian bank gets. These banks will get the same treatment as an Indian bank gets, only if that foreign bank's home country, okay, will also provide Indian banks to open branches there with the same kind of facility. Okay. I hope you will understand this point. See, if UK is a country, foreign country, India, they want you in UK, there is a bank. Okay. Say it is ABC Bank. That ABC banks want to open a branch in India. If this branch has to get the same facility like SBI, that is an Indian bank, what UK should do is, if India is opening a branch in UK, they should also get the same kind of treatment in UK. What the UK banks give to their UK country gives to their banks, no, the same treatment Indian bank should get there. Only then we will provide them with the same. Okay, that is, if a country is not, if any country UK suppose discriminate between our bank and their banks, no, then we will also discriminate here. Okay, otherwise we will give the same treatment as our own bank. That is what reciprocity means. I hope you understand this point. The second is single mode of presence, that they could either be in the branch mode or wholly owned subsidiary mode. Okay, they should not, they cannot be both. They could either be a branch or a wholly owned subsidiary. Okay. Some other RBI requirements, they have to maintain the capital adequacy requirements of Basel standards. Okay, they should also have to meet the minimum capital requirement of 5 billion. Okay, and the private sector targets for the foreign bank in India is 40%. Okay, they also have to meet those kind of things. Okay, uh, with this I finish this lesson. I'll start my the balance of this banking, that is regional rural banks and cooperative banks and payment banks and small finance banks in the second part. Okay, I want to keep all the videos short. Okay, we'll see in the next class. Bye.